Okay, let's look at this next question. So we've got some forces here and vectors, and personally I think this question is really quite tricky. So we've got a particle P, it says, of mass 4 kilograms is at rest at a point A on a smooth horizontal plane. At time t equals 0, two forces, F1 which is 4I minus j newtons and F2 which is lambda I plus mu j newtons, where lambda and mu are constants, are applied to P. Given that P moves in the direction of 3I plus j, show that lambda minus 3 mu plus 7 is equal to 0, 4 marks. Okay, some quite advanced ideas going on in this question. So if we just draw a little rudimentary sketch, what we've got here is we've got two forces, F1 and F2. F1 is 4I minus j, and F2 is lambda I plus mu j. Now when we add those together, the resultant is moving in the direction of 3I add j. Okay, and remember that vector, it could be anywhere. You know, we don't know, it's moving, so we could say it's moving parallel to 3I plus j, because it could be anywhere within the plane. But it's going parallel to 3I add j. So let's look at this now. So we've got our two forces, we're going to add them together, and that's going to give us a resultant force. So the forces are 4I minus j and lambda I plus mu j, okay, is equal to 3I plus j. So we're just going to gather together our I and j components. So our 4I plus our mu is 4 add mu, and our minus 1 and mu is going to be mu minus 1. So just gather together the I components and the j components there, like so. Okay, that's fine. Now here's the key thing that I think is really tricky. Whenever you get this kind of situation where you've got the left-hand side of a force is the same as the right-hand side of a force, you can use this little trick, and look out for this. It comes up in a lot of A-level mechanics questions. You know, it's a very important key skill for you to know how to do, because there's a very good chance you're going to be required to do this. So what this key skill is when you've got this add this equals this add this, you basically divide the I and j components on the left hand side by each other and equate it to the I and j components on the right hand side divided by each other. So in other words, what I'm saying is you say that 4 add lambda divided by mu minus 1 is equal to 3 divided by 1, okay? So you say that divided by that equals that divided by that. That's really important. It's not very obvious, I don't think, that that's what you would do, but that's how you approach it. So now that we've done that, we can now cross multiply, and you know, we're home and dry then. So we basically say, we're going to say 3 times mu minus 1, 4 add lambda times 1, expand the bracket, 3 times mu, 3 times 3, so we get 3 times 1 rather, so we get 3 mu minus 3. Over here we get 1 times 4 is 4, and 1 times lambda is just 1 lambda. Rearranging that by just taking away the 3 mu onto the other side and adding the 3, we get lambda minus 3 mu add 7 equals 0 as required. So that's our part A done for 4 marks, okay? This here, this idea of dividing the I and j components on the left hand side and the right hand side, equating them to each other and cross multiplying, that's our key idea right there. Okay, so very important to be aware of that. Now part B, I think part B is super tricky, really definitely tricky. It's worth 5 marks. So what does it say? It says at time t equals 4 seconds, the particle P passes through the point B. Given that lambda is 2, find out what the length of AB is. Well, they've given us lambda is 2, so we can first of all make use of that in order to find out what mu is in our equation that we've got. So because remember in part A we found that lambda minus 3 mu add 7 was 0. So we're going to put that result in. So lambda is 2. So we have 2 minus 3 mu add 7 equals 0. So we take the 3 mu over to the other side. 2 add 7 is 9. So we get 9 is 3 mu, so mu is 3. So that's good, because that now means that we now know everything about our force F2. We know that F2 is in fact 2I plus 3j. So we can work out what our resultant force actually is, because remember it's going to be F1 add F2 So we've got 2i add 3j, which is our f2, and then we've got our 4i minus j, which is our f1. Okay, so that one there is our f2, and that one there is our f1. Okay, so the resultant force is 6i plus 2j. Okay, so that's fine. Now, this resultant force is going to cause the object to accelerate, okay? Because whenever there's a force, it's going to cause an object to accelerate. So what we've got to do, and this is, I think, the super tricky idea here, is if we write down Newton's second law, F equals ma, force equals mass times acceleration, we're going to get an expression, we can derive an expression for the acceleration. If we then integrate the acceleration, we can get an expression for the velocity. And if we then integrate the velocity, we'll be able to get an expression for the displacement. So that's what we've got to do. So the key next step is to recognize that if we use Newton's second law, F equals ma, we'll be able to find an expression for our acceleration. So let's do that. So force equals mass times acceleration. Here's our resultant force. There's our mass of 4, and we don't know the acceleration. So we divide both sides by 4. So we get acceleration is 6 over 4i plus 2 over 4j. There we go. Simplifying 6 over 4 goes to 3 over 2. Simplifying 2 over 4 goes to a half. So we've got our acceleration there now. We're now going to integrate twice in order to get an expression for displacement. So first of all, the integral of acceleration is going to give us velocity. So we need to integrate this expression that we've just got. Now don't forget, so 3 over 2 is going to go to 3 over 2t, and a half is going to go to a half t. But don't forget to add a c there. Now we need to think to ourselves, okay, what are boundary conditions here? What's the initial piece of information that's going to help us to work out what c is? And it's very subtly hidden within this question. It says a particle p of mass 4 kilograms is at rest. Okay, so the inference there is that when the time is 0, the velocity is 0. So that's first sentence in the question has given us the information that we need to work out what c is. So we know that when t is 0, v is 0. So we can sub that into our equation here to work out what c is. So we've got 0 is equal to 0 add c, which means in turn that the c is equal to 0. So therefore we've got the equation now for the velocity, because we found out that c was 0. Okay, so we now need to repeat the process. We need to integrate again to get an expression for displacement, because displacement is the integral of the velocity. Okay, I've called it s, but you could call it r, whichever you prefer. So you just need to integrate the velocity. So we're integrating 3 over 2t and a half t. So we get 3/4 t squared and we get 1/4 t squared. And then remember, add c. Now we need to know another piece of information, another boundary condition, in order to help us to work out what this new constant is here. Well, what's this going to be? Well, we know that in part B, we're trying to find the length from A to B. Okay, so the displacement from A at time t equals 0 is nothing, because it's at A at time t equals 0. So there's our next boundary condition. We can say that when the time is 0, the displacement from A is 0. That's a key idea. So we can say 0 is equal to 0 add c. So once again, c is 0. But you know, I know it seems a bit trivial because we found that c is 0 in both of these cases, but we really do need to go through this process because we can't assume that c is 0. Okay, so having done that, we've now got our expression for our displacement. So we can now find out what the vector displacement from A to B is by subbing in t equals 4 into our vector equation. So we can find out that when we sub in t equals 4 into our equation, we get that the displacement is 12i plus 4j. So in other words, from where it started, in the 4 seconds, it's moved 12 to the right and it's moved 4 up. So that's the position vector from A to B. That's the position vector of AB. But that's still not the answer because the question's asking us for the length of AB. Now the length is just the magnitude of the distance, okay? The length of the distance between A and B is the magnitude of the displacement, okay? The magnitude of the displacement. So therefore we need to square the I component, square the j component, add them together and square root it. and that gives us a length of AB of 12.6 meters. So a super tricky question, I think, there for question 3. Not a nice question at all. I hope you found that helpful. Remember, if you're finding these videos helpful, if you could like and subscribe to the channel, if you've not already subscribed, that would be great. That'll help me keep on making more videos. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.